So hi, very good morning to all of you. So for some of you, I can see that this is the second class uh, half today, and you don't know that you guys are just reading, writing, then and asking some questions on the your response chat and some responses. But otherwise, it's a full day job for us to bark like, I'll not say dogs, but all the day to talk like that. So it's very challenging. Many a times that so many classes in a day, it's a challenging thing. So let's begin with so as I can see the names, Ankita, this is second class for you. And then who else? So till now, okay, I can see Asis, Ankita. This is a second class for you. And then who else? Nitin, for you also. This is a second class. I have started remembering your names. So, वैसे तो in offline classes we used to remember the face, but now नाम ही याद करना पड़ेगा. So with you all. So now let's start with that without wasting time. Let's start with the objective of the today's class then. So last class, Chesurya, also you're for the second class, and thank you for the the morning pronunciation class for us, all of us, and then अब start करते हैं. So as I can see that the last thing that we discussed were the leagues of the Enebicent and leagues of the Tilak. So we did differentiated between the two leagues, that what was there in the league of the Enebicent and what was there in the league of the Tilak. Tilak was more organized but less branches, and for Enebicent it was many branches but less organized, and at the same point of time it is the Mrs. Enebicent's league with which hell lot of ardent nationalists were associated. So we wrote their names also. So now we need to know that what were the objectives and the methods of home rule leaguers. So your next title is Objectives and Methods of home rule leaguers. Then, so objectives and methods of home rule leaguers. So first of all, they wanted to promote the political education and aware people. See that we had discussed about this aspect earlier also, that awareness may be a small word, but it means a lot. Then, so it means a lot. So basically, they wanted to promote the political education and spread awareness among the people. So what were the methods? These are the objectives, but what were the methods? So methods were public meeting, organizing library, reading rooms, propaganda, pamphlets, street plays, then posters. So exactly like the today's time that what we do, that I hope that you must have seen, if you have ever been to Delhi or in Delhi University area, any of the campuses. If you are in the North Delhi or if you are in the South Delhi, any of the campuses, so you may see that students performing street plays. And most of the time, these street plays are about awareing the people about some of the very pertinent issues in the society. So pertinent issues in the society, and I have seen a lot since being the part of the North Delhi and also the university culture in the North Delhi. So I have seen hell lot of street plays. So they were also doing this kind of stuff right from the beginning. And posters are also one great medium. Even the paintings, like the mural paintings on the walls, they are also great medium of, yes, Hansraj. There are many, not just the Hansraj, but yes, Hansraj has done a lot. So these street plays, then reading rooms, organizing libraries and propaganda through pamphlets. So these were the methods which they adopted. Please write quickly. Right. They wanted to promote political education. They wanted to promote political education and spread awareness among people. Political education and spread awareness among the people, through discussion, public meetings, Public meetings. Organizing libraries. Reading rooms. Organizing libraries, reading rooms. Propaganda through pamphlets. Propaganda through pamphlets. Posters, street plays, etc. Posters, street plays, etc. Posters, street plays, that's what you call Nukkad Natak. So posters, street plays, etc. Then you write. They also collected funds. They also collected funds to increase its membership. They also collected funds to increase its membership. So now listen. So what is the British response after the initiation of the Home Rule movement? Then, so we can write it as a heading that British response after this initiation of Home Rule. So British response, listen, when it comes to the British response, they came down with severe repression. So they came down with the severe repression, particularly in Madras. Then all over India there was repression, but particularly they came very hard in the Madras presidency. Moreover, Tilak was also charge-seated, but at this point of time when Tilak was charge-seated, so his case was defended by none other than, Muhammad Ali Jinnah. So Muhammad Ali Jinnah defended his case, and there was also a time when Mrs. Sarojini Naidu declared Muhammad Ali Jinnah as the that symbol of the Hindu-Muslim unity. So till this point of time, he was not on the communal page, or he was not on this new song of the Pakistan. Till this time, he was one of the ardent nationalists. So he was one of the ardent nationalists, but then something will happen, and then he would not be on the same page. But at this point of time, Tilak was defended by Jinnah. Then the most important incident which happened, as far as the British response is concerned, in June 1917, they arrested Annie Besant and put her behind the bar. So they arrested Annie Besant and she was put behind the bar, and this particular instance led to the chain reaction all over India. So it led to the chain reaction all over India. From every walk of life in India, there was protest and movement, and there was an unprecedented demand for release of the Mrs. Annie Besant. So this was not seen earlier. This was not seen earlier when any of the leaders were arrested, but by this time, this is happening because of the awareness is bit more in the people. And now, Indians has this tradition that if somebody fights for you, so then you fight for them. And you fight with your life also for them. So this is what was seen at the time of the Mrs. Annie Besant's arrest. So in a dramatic gesture, what happened that one of the, you can say that parliamentarians of that time, or the members of the councils, so his name was S. Subramania Iyer. So S. Subramania Iyer, he renounced his knighthood. So he renounced his knighthood after the arrest of Mrs. Annie Besant, and then the Secretary of the State, Montagu, made a very bold statement at this point of time regarding Mrs. Annie Besant. So listen to this, what phrase he used at this point of time. So he said that Siva cut his wife into 52 pieces. Siva cut his wife into 52 pieces just to realize that he had 52 wives. So just to realize that he had 52 wives. You may not get it, and you may get it also. That what was it? That Siva cut his wife into 52 pieces just to realize that he had 52 wives. As if, have you ever read the case of the Hydra? Anybody in this class have ever read the case of the Hydra? What happens to Hydra when you cut the Hydra into n number of the pieces, and then you get n number of the Hydra? So further you listen to the statement. Then further what he added, he said that Siva cut his wife into 52 pieces just to realize that he had 52 wives, and this is what happens to government of India when it interns to Mrs. Annie Besant. So this is what happens to government of India when it interns to Mrs. Annie Besant. Meaning that when you put Mrs. Annie Besant behind the bars, so there would be n number of the Annie Besants on the streets. Then this is what he wanted to say. So Hydra regenerates. You guys know that you cut Hydras in the n number of the pieces, and then n number of the Hydras would be created. And if you are from the Hindi belt, and if you have seen some observation, one plant is also there. I will tell that name of the plant in Hindi itself. The name of the plant is ajuba. Then, and what is ajuba about that particular plant? If you tear the leaf of the ajuba, throw it on the ground, then after a week or so, you will see a new ajuba has come to picture. So this is what was there at this point of time. Then, so please write. Yes, you guys are right that you understand. You're right. British came down with severe repression. British came down with severe repression, particularly in Madras. Bryophyllum. Oh, very nice. Bryophyllum. कुछ bio वाले भी बैठे हैं यहाँ पे. So, came down with severe repression, particularly in Madras. Then you write. A case was registered against Tilak. So, right, I will tell you one more instance. A case was registered against Tilak, which was defended by Muhammad Ali Jinnah. In June 1917, Mrs. Annie Besant was arrested. In June 1917, Mrs. Annie Besant was arrested by British authority. Which led to chain reaction from all over India. Then you write, after chain reaction, the demand for the release of Mrs. Annie Besant was unprecedented. Then further you write, was unprecedented. At this time, the Secretary of the State commented. Not Secretary of State, but you write, at this time, in a dramatic gesture, S. Subramania Iyer, in a dramatic gesture, S. Subramania Iyer renounced his knighthood. Then further you write, renounced his knighthood. Change paragraph after full stop. Montagu, the Secretary of State, the Secretary of the State, the Secretary of the State, commented, and please write, commented that Siva cut his wife. In quote unquote you write, Siva cut his wife into 52 pieces. Siva cut his wife into 52. He could have written n number of the pieces also, but he used this phrase 52 pieces. So 52 pieces only to discover he had 52 wives. Maybe he must have been so tortured by his own wife, then, and that's why he used the term wife. Then, so एक तो जान लेती थी और 52 हो जाएंगे तो प्राण भी ले लेंगे. So further you mentioned just only to discover that he had 52 wives. 52 wives. Comma. This is what happens to Government of India. This is what happens to Government of India when it interns Mrs. Annie Besant. When it interns Mrs. Annie Besant. Then, so now, I hope you got that. You have written. I have written something on this, something on the digital board, that is Congress grass. And I know in your batch, post-independence is also about to get completed. So ma'am has completed. So maybe you know about this and maybe you don't know about this. Do you know about this? Congress grass? Anybody in this class who knows about the Congress grass? The story of this grass? Any idea? I'll just get to know, but I will also tell you. Interns. Yes, very good. That's the spelling. Interns. Then, दूसरा वाला नहीं लिखना है. ठीक है? So you guys, please tell quickly. No. Okay. Parthenium. Jayasurya is a biologist. Then, but I thought that he was a Dhurandhar Ballebaj. Then, so now, Parthenium. चलो ये तो समझ में आ गया. अब कहानी सुन लो, ठीक है? What is the story of this Congress grass? So post independence अभी कुछ classes में नहीं हुआ है, but otherwise, you all know that what is the name of that scheme? PL 62 or PL 472 something. If you remember that case of that before Green Revolution, the status of India, and the US provided under that scheme PL something. So PL something, under that scheme US provided the wheat to India, and why India was reeling at that point of time. You know that two consecutive wars. One was that 1962 and then 1965. So these wars, Indochina War, and then also that confrontation with the Pakistan. So this was the period, PL 480. Yes, very good. So PL 480 was the scheme under which agricultural products छोड़ो wheat आया था US से, ठीक है? So wheat came to India. There is a long story in that. I'm not going to tell you, but that PL 480 when it came, so India was provided with that just before the Green Revolution when MS Swaminathan, who is the father of that, the celebrated scientist in the WHO, Soumya Swaminathan. So, but MS Swaminathan is much bigger than name than anybody, and he was one of the closest colleague of the Norman Borlaug. So he was the one who was the father of the Green Revolution in India. He is the one who founded those oil ideals. But first of all, the wheat which came from the US. So the wheat 480 which came from the US, and you know that with this wheat, this Parthenium, it came to India. This Parthenium, it came to India. And moreover, people started to grow this. People started to grow the wheat in India. Initially, there was a resistance because the taste of this wheat was quite different, and then it was very sticky, and then the rotis, the bread which was created from this wheat, it was becoming hard very soon. Then, but the Indian white varieties which were there, they were one of the finest varieties. Then, so people had resistance in using the wheat of this one, which was the high yield variety. So high yield variety, but somehow the people were convinced that you must go with that green revolution. And you know, who accepted it for the first place, at the first place? It's the Punjab, the farmers of the Punjab, who broke the resistance, and they were the one who went with this particular high yield variety wheats and rices also. So then they were the first, Punjab was the first state to reap the benefits of the green revolution, but it is also, I hope you all have studied all the negatives and the positives. I'm not from here. I'm just telling you one story. So what happened that with that wheat, this Parthenium grass also came, and it started to grow. You must have studied in the environment. एक ही class में, history की class में सब पढ़ा दूंगा. So environment, exotic species is then. So exotic species, this is an exotic species. And what is the speciality of the exotic species? That they spread very easily, and moreover, they are the one which are called as the invasive plant species, and it invaded entire India. You go anywhere in India, on the sides of the road, you will find a Parthenium. So why it was called as the Congress grass then? So after that incident of the Green Revolution, there was that 1967 was some sort of that down air of the Congress, but then after, Congress grew in leaps and bounds under Mrs. Indira Gandhi. That there was a geometric progression of the Indira Gandhi's regime only till it was going to stop in 1977. And then after again she came back with a thumping majority. So it was that her regime, that her political graph was growing in a geometric progression, and so as this grass. So both coincided with each other, and that's why this grass is called as the Congress grass. And this is that grass. If you guys have not seen, those who have not seen, you must observe. Anywhere in any part of this country, if you live, so this is what is there. And see that what BJP has started, no, galat nikal gaya. What some other parties have started, that they want to clean the grass. Then, so they want to clear the grass, but clearing the grass with certain with certain chemicals. So you clear one grass by putting a poison into the ground. So that's what is happening in the country. So this is a menace to the Indian agriculture, and then you put so much of weedicide to kill this menace, and that's the way that there was a grass which other parties thought that they will clear, but they will clear it with the poison. Hats off to our netas then and our political scenario. You got that? So let's move on. अब ग्रास तो हो गया, वापस चलते हैं. कुछ लोग कोई और ग्रास के बारे में सोच हो रहेंगे. So some of you, let me switch it off. So now, done. बहुत सारा है ये. So you have written that what happened. So now we need to write the next heading. Next heading, fading out of the home rule agitation. So you write fading out of home rule agitation. Then, so now listen, fading out of the home rule agitation. So there was a declaration of the British Prime Minister on 20th of August 1917, and what was the declaration? Declaration was the aim of the British authority to establish a responsible government in India. So this was one statement, that aim of the British authority in India was to establish a responsible government. Then, and in this regard, a committee was constituted, and the committee was constituted under the leadership of the Montagu himself. Then, so under the leadership of the Montagu himself, and when the he was the secretary of the state. So when the reforms were made public, Mrs. Annie Besant, she withdrew her Home Rule movement. So she withdrew the Home Rule movement in July 1918. So she withdrew in July 1918, and in 1918, Tilak went to London. So Tilak went to London, and what was the purpose of this visit? So he went to London to file that to contest and to further what we can say that contest one suit which was filed by sorry, that there was a person, his name was Valentine Cherol, and he said that Tilak was father of the Indian unrest. So Valentine Cherol wrote in UK that Tilak was the father of the Indian unrest, and to file a suit against Valentine Cherol, Tilak went to London. He was offended by this, and he was not the father of the Indian unrest. So he went to London to file a suit against the Valentine Cherol, who has said this word against the Tilak. So he was away from India for several months, and then the Home Rule movement was becoming dysfunctional. And the moment Tilak would be coming back to India, so by that time he is quite ill, and then he would be no more, I think, on 20th of August. In August, 1st of August 1920. So Tilak being away from India was also one such part which led to the fading away of the Home Rule movement. So we are writing fading away. Nobody, that it is, that anybody, Annie Besant withdrew, but Tilak did not withdrew, but it started to fade. So please write, very first one, declaration of British Prime Minister, declaration of British Prime Minister declaration of British Prime Minister on 20th August 1917. On 20th August 1917, and then you write in quote unquote, the aim of British authority, is to establish a responsible government in India. A responsible government in India. Then full stop, unquote. Then you mention a committee was constituted. A committee was constituted under Montagu, under chairmanship of Montagu, in order to provide responsible government to Indians. A responsible government to Indians. Full stop. Then, in July 1918, second statement you write. In July 1918, the reforms were made public. In July 1918, the reforms were made public. Full stop. Annie Besant accepted it. And withdrew her Home Rule agitation. Done. And then you write third reason you write. In 1918, Tilak went to London. To file a suit against Valentine Cherol. to file a suit against Valentin Chirol. Then, who claimed Tilak was father of the Indian unrest. Father of the Indian unrest. Who claimed Tilak was the father of Indian unrest. Full stop. And then, you write. Since Tilak was away for several months, his home rule agitation also became dysfunctional. So also became dysfunctional. In the morning, not today's morning, into yesterday's morning, you read about that English is a funny language. Yeah. So there is a case of that. Here you are witnessing. You can mix culture and then not just the culture, that what was disseminated in the yesterday's class. What is the difference? This is called a suit. Then what is called as this, and what is called as this. Then everything seems to be similar. Then these British were really funny people. Then if a little bit of difference in the pronunciation happens, they will mock upon you. They will laugh upon you. Then, in fact, we also do. That we have become more of a British than the British. Then, so that's what happens. So, but anyways, it has become an international language, and your employability becomes less if you don't know English. Then, so you will have to be so the English says that you need to be funny in your life. Then, since it is a funny language, so you must be funny in your life. Then, so yes, Swami, it is right that this is sweet. It's sweet, but अब इसको तुम sweet बोलोगे तो इसको क्या बोलोगे? मिठाई, रसगुल्ला. So that's what is funny about this language. That sweet is like and suit. So let's move on. So now we need to talk about the last thing related to the Home Rule movement, that is the contribution of the Home Rule movement. Then, so नहीं भैया, अमन पैसे नहीं मिलेंगे हिंदी में पढ़ाने के, लोग पढ़ने नहीं आते हैं, मुफ्त में हिंदी मीडियम में मुफ्त में चाहिए. That is one problem. Then, and even if see that I learned English language to increase my own employability. So how come? How come I'll be going back to the Hindi? मन है, दिल है, दिमाग भी है हिंदी में, पर पैसा नहीं है. So you write next one, contribution of home rule agitation. Contribution of home rule agitation or movement. कुछ भी लिखो, agitation लिखो या movement लिखो, that's fair. Then, so now the very first one that you have seen, the very first contribution, it created ardent nationalist in many parts of, and here many would be kind of, I think that it would be injustice. We can say that it created ardent nationalists even in the remotest part of the country. So even in the remotest part of the country, ardent nationalists were created, and you have written their names in the Annie Besant's episode. Then moreover, this is, when you look at the methods of these people, that home rule agitators, so what were their methods? Pamphlets, posters, then print media, library, then organizing libraries, reading rooms, propaganda. So these all involves print media. And it was highly effective. So it further facilitated the reach of the print media to the hinterlands of the India. Then that's the second. Then it also created an organizational link between the nationalists, who majorly they were living in the urban areas, and to the followers in the remotest part of the country, or you can say that in the countryside of India, so in the villages of the India. So there was an organizational link which was created, which was not at all existing in any of the preceding movements, like Gadar mein to bilkul bhi nahi tha. Even the Swadeshi didn't had that kind of organizational link. Then moreover, it is generic one, but the last one, though the generic but very important, This is the stage which provided the platform for the subsequent stages of the mass movement in India. And moreover, it is the Gandhi who is going to highly utilize this platform. So he is going to utilize in a better manner this platform which has been created by the home rule agitation, though he was not in the favor of the home rule agitation. So please write one by one. It created a large group of ardent nationalists, especially in the remotest part of the country. In the remotest part of the country. Remotest part of the country. I think you guys are keeping track of that. You guys are reading the newspaper on a daily basis. But I read one such statement of one of the very respected personality in the intellectual field of India. So T.M. Pai. Okay? So T.M. Pai, that I hope you must have heard his name. He is a respected intellectual in India. What he said yesterday, that it is the IT industry of India which made the Indian passport respected all throughout the world. Reflect upon this. And he has made a very emphatic statement and very bold statement which people must think about. So it is the IT industry and the software skill of India which has made Indian passport respected all throughout the world. Then I hope that you must have read this statement. Now, come back to the class. So you have written the first one, you write the second one. It also facilitated the reach of print media to the hinterland. Reach of print media to the hinterland. Then further you write, then you mention hinterland. Third you write, it created organizational link between the nationalist, in urban areas and the masses in the countryside. Masses in the countryside. Full stop. Then the last one you write, it provided a platform. In subsequent phases for mass movement. And national struggle. So there is no Hindi revolution. Yeah. It would be like that imposing Hindi on the rest of the cultures of India. Hindi is the newest language of this country, the most new language of this country. So you cannot impose it on all the parts of the country. Yes, it has a that good aspect with the Hindi, that majority of the people, they know a little bit. So it can be used as a contact language, but never use this term that Hindi revolution, and moreover to impose Hindi on the other languages. In fact, the Dravidian languages of India, they are the original languages of India which originated in this country, and thanks to them, thanks to the people of the South, that they are still preserving the original culture of India. So every language and every culture must be respected, and every culture has a distinct place and every language has a distinct place in this country. So we must cherish our diverse culture. Then, so rather than imposing, you have not written about the imposing, I know that, but we cannot impose, and any government, if it does so, so that doesn't deserve to be the in authority. If it tries to impose one such culture all over India, this country is beautiful only because of the diversity. And I hope you must have studied about the concept of the diversity in the ecology and environment. What does it mean? And if you guys have gone through the NCRT, so you must have observed that diversity increases your sustainability. And when there is a monopolization in any sphere of the life, so then it decreases the sustainability. So it is the diversity which increases the sustainability. I can talk much about the environment ecology also, that particular page also, but I will not do, because we have so many things to cover in the both the subjects. In the morning, art and culture, and here modern Indian history. Chalo. So now the next topic, the one which we kept in abeyance because of the Home Rule movement, that is the Lucknow session of the Indian National Congress, 1916. So write this as a heading: Lucknow session of Congress 1916. Then, so now listen, this is the session of the Congress which was unique in many senses. So first of all, this is the session in which formally the extremist Congress and the moderate Congress, they are united. And then also it is the first session of the Congress in which Muslim League also participated. So first session of the Congress in which Muslim League also participated, and this session was presided by Ambika Charun Majumdar. Then, so Ambika Charun Majumdar, he was the president of this Congress. Then what were the proposals? What were the resolutions in this Congress? So Congress accepted in this particular session the concept of separate electorate for the Muslims. It is considered as many a times a mistake, and it was a mistake. Then it was something which we will talk about that after effect of this, that why this is considered as a mistake, that accepting separate electorate for the Muslims. Then they also accepted that the Muslims would be given 1/3 representation in the central government. There is no problem with that. So 1/3 representation in the central government, that is one resolution. Then they also forwarded the resolution regarding there must be a self-government in India. So you can see that dilution of the position of the Indian nationalists itself, that at the time of the Swadeshi, the extremist Congress leaders, they wanted Swaraj, not Swarajya. There is difference, Swaraj and Swarajya. So Swaraj was the full independence, but Swaraj is that self-rule. So now everybody is wanting self-rule at this point of time. And moreover, they also demanded to increase the number of Indian members in the central and provincial legislative council. So this was the resolution. So please write that the session was presided by Ambika Charan Majumdar. Ambika Charan Majumdar. Ambika Charan Majumdar. Then you write, the session led to unification of two branches of the Congress. The session led to unification of the two branches of Congress unification of two branches of Congress, and for the first time, Muslim League, for the first time, Muslim League participated in this council, or participated in this session, not council. For the first time, Muslim League participated in this session, which led to Lucknow Pact, which led to Lucknow Pact. So which led to Lucknow Pact. And please write what all resolutions were there in the Lucknow Pact. So one by one you write. Congress accepted the concept of separate electorate for the Muslims. Separate electorate for the Muslims. Then, second, they also accepted that Muslims should be given one-third representation in central government. One-third representation in central government. Fourth, there shall be self-government. There shall be self-government or self-rule in India. Self-government in India. Fourth, they demanded to increase the number of Indian members in Central and Provincial Legislative Council. In Central and Provincial Legislative Council. Yes, Sinoli flings. We will see that what is going to be further excavated and further more information to be established after that Sinoli episode. So let's wait, and these topics would be taught to you by the respected faculties in the current affairs. Then whoever comes, then so they will teach you in whatever manner. I have no comment on that then. So you will get to know about that, this new excavations. So now, this is what is about this Congress session in 1916. Now we need to analyze this Congress session. So analyze this Congress session, the very first one itself. So the first provision, accepting this separate electorate for the Muslims, the Indian nationalists, it seems like that they have gone berserk and they have not understood the sinister design of the Britishers. So the sinister design of the Britishers, where they want to divide the Indian society on many lines, and the first is the religion and the community. So it seems like that they haven't understood the sinister design of the Britishers, or at the same point of time, even if they have understood, so they want a short-term gain. So this is one part, but now what is the after effect, or you can say that repercussion of this particular accepting the separate electorate. Today, it has been offered to the Muslim community in India. Tomorrow, there would be demand from the Sikh community. Tomorrow, there would be demand from the Jain community, Buddhist community. And then after, there would be demand within the Hinduism itself that Rajputs ko alag chahiye, Brahmins ko alag chahiye, sabko separate electorate chahiye. So, it will create a domino effect in India. And this was not understood by the Indian nationalists, and that's why they accepted it. Then, so it is the opening the gateways of the communalism in India, acceptance of this, because the demands would be there, and then moreover there would be contest in the Indian society when the demands would be there, and it will further pave the way for the future communalism in India. So this is not a unification, but this is a unification for bombing each other. Then, and that's what happened. So please write that analysis of this session. You mentioned, you write that it seems that the nationalist did not understood the sinister design not understood the sinister design of the Britishers. Then you write, it was based on the belief that Hindus and Muslims were separate political entity. Hindus and Muslims were separate political entity. Full stop. Which may also lead to domino effect. Whereby other communities may also demand separate electorates for themselves. Other communities may also demand separate electorate for themselves. Full stop. Then you write, it was like opening the gateways of future communalism. So this is what is about that Lucknow session of 1916. Seems to be a great that Lucknow Pact is there, but there were so many repercussions of this Lucknow session. Then, so how come you guys are asking these stuff in the classes, but otherwise, listen, yes, you are allowed to give interviews in any language. No matter in which language you guys have given your mains exam, you can speak in Hindi, you can speak in Tamil, Telugu in interviews. There is no bar. Earlier, there was a condition by the UPSC that if you have given exam in English, so you would be giving interviews only in English then, but otherwise, nowadays, it has been, this provision has been diluted. You can give your interview in any language in which you are comfortable. In fact, I would better suggest that write your mains in the English language, give interview in your own. If you ever feel that your expression is very good in your own vernacular language, so then go by the vernacular language only. Hindi, Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, Marathi, whatever. Then, but yes, Bhojpuri is not a medium in which you can give the interviews. Then only the recognized languages of India. Then, so recognized and the scheduled languages of India, not all the languages. So they will have to bring one expert, and it takes a little bit of time. So that's what is all about this particular phase. So I hope you guys have understood these all. So now is the time. We need to talk about that Gandhi Gandhian phase in India. Then, so Gandhian phase in India. अच्छा एक और last पूछना था, not Gandhian phase first, but one last thing I want to know, what you can figure out something which is positive from this assembly. Anything positive that from this assembly? The negative we have talked about, but anything which is positive from this assembly? मुझे लिख देना चाहिए था बोर्ड पे, काजल, दिस इज सिनिस्टर डिजाइन. सिनिस्टर डिजाइन, ठीक है. सो नो, हाइब्रिड इज नॉट अलाउड फॉर इंटरव्यूज. हाइब्रिड इज नॉट अलाउड. English, Bajinglish, whatever. So hybrid may be effective in the real life, but that's not allowed. So now, yes, let's see that extremism diluted, united Congress, Hindu-Muslim together. Yes, that's one. That Hindu-Muslim together, unity of the Hindu-Muslim. Yes, that's one. For the short term, there was a Hindu-Muslim unity. But first of all, for a period of time, for short period of time, it allayed the fears of the minorities that there would be majority rule. So, ye likh lo, that you all are right, but please write this word, that a positive effect, a positive aspect of this session was, a positive aspect of this session was Hindu-Muslims coming together against British authority. That's what important. Hindu-Muslim coming against British authority, against British authority, against British authority, and it allayed the fear of majority domination, among the minorities. Allayed the fear of majority domination among the minorities. Yes, that's what is right, Neha. So, no fear, at least for some point of time, so that they address this particular part. So now, since we mentioned the Montagu-Chelmsford reform, we have not mentioned any word about the Montagu-Chelmsford reform till this point of time, and then after we'll be starting the Gandhian phase in India. Gandhi, who is here in India. So I didn't mention, since we were talking about that home rule agitation, we would be writing that what Gandhi said about the home rule agitation when we are going to start the Gandhian phase in India. So now, we need to mention that Montagu's statement, after which Mrs. Annie Besant is withdrawing her movement. And moreover, what is this Montagu-Chelmsford reform? That is the Government of India Act 1919 and the provisions of the Government of India Act 1919. Then, so please write that as a heading, Montagu's statement. बस एक ही लाइन लिखा था हमने, British Prime Minister's statement that they want to give a responsible government in India. But then Montagu made a statement. Let's talk about that statement. Then, so please write a heading. Just 1 minute. Montagu's statement of 1917. Then, so listen, that he further mentioned that the British government policy is in India is of an increasing participation of Indians in every branch of administration. So increasing participation of Indians in every branch of administration and the gradual development of the self-governing institutions. So it's a bold statement that increased participation of Indians in the administration, that is continuing from 1857, 1858, but here again it is getting repeated, but the second statement is quite emphatic. So what is that? That in a gradual fashion, in a gradual way, development of the self-governing institutions, then with a view of progressive realization of responsible government of India. So with a view of progressive realization of the responsible government of India as an integral part of the British Empire. So there would be self-governing institution, but anyways, you will be part of the British Empire. That's one thing. And moreover, that gradual development. But gradual is a word which is very subjective. Okay? Gradual development then of self-governing institution. So this is very subjective. You cannot say that gradual का मतलब हो गया 2 साल, 4 साल, 5 साल. No, you cannot give a particular number to the gradual. For example, that I can say that there would be a gradual evolution of you. Then, when you are studying, you are preparing for the UPSC Civil Services examination very devotedly. So then there would be a gradual evolution and maturity will come into you. It's a subjective statement because that for all of you, it cannot happen at the same point of time. For some of you, it may take 3 years. For some of you, it may take 1 year. For some of you, it may take 10 years. And for some of you, it may not take any year. It may take lifetime. So that's what is the reality. So gradual is a word which is quite subjective. And moreover, this is indicative of that the timeline is not fixed. बोल तो दिया कि सेल्फ गवर्निंग इंस्टीट्यूशंस होंगे बट कब होंगे ग्रेजुअल 10 साल भी हो सकता है 20 साल भी हो सकता है इट कुड बी 30 years also and 30 was I think 30 ही ट्रू हुआ बाद में so this is one part moreover who to decide that India में सेल्फ गवर्निंग इंस्टीट्यूशन होगा इंडियंस और the British. So the British government policy is to increase association and grant self-governing institution. Means that Indians had no role to decide that governing institution में हमारा क्या role होगा, ठीक है? And time and the advance also they cannot decide. So that is what is one such hidden part in this statement. But yes, people accepted, welcomed it, and then Mrs. Annie Besant withdrew her home rule movement. So please write. He declared that the British government policy in India, the British government policy in India is of an increasing association of Indians, increasing association of Indians in every branch of administration, and the gradual development of the self-governing institutions. Anshul, I agree with you. अच्छे दिन आएंगे, ठीक है? करण अर्जुन की तरह. But कब आएंगे ये पता नहीं है, ठीक है? तुम लोगों की तो आ सकते हैं. If you really, बाकी का तो नहीं पता, but you guys have very good opportunity to clear the exam. So कुछ तो अच्छे दिन start होंगे. And in fact, you will cherish the very first year of your selection, all of you. Really, that would be the golden period of your life. You can sleep in the classes in front of your faculties. There is no bar on that. And moreover, you can indulge so much of food, so much of pleasure. And then also at the same point of time, you will see so many places all over India. And earlier, before the pandemic, the candidates, the aspirants, the gentlemen, they were sent to the different countries also. But आजकल नहीं हो रहा है. Hopefully, तुम्हारे time तक, when you get the selection by 2022, you are going to appear. So 2023, by September 2023, the things would get normalized, and then you can roam all over India, and moreover, many parts of the world also. So for you, Achhe Din is ensured. It is in your hands. Work like that. So please mention increasing participation of Indians in every branch of administration. Increasing participation of Indians in every branch of administration, full stop, and the gradual development of self-governing institution, and the gradual development of self-governing institutions with the view to progressive realization with a view to progressive realization of responsible government of India. Progressive realization of responsible government of India as an integral part of the British Empire. Integral part of the British Empire. Then you write, change paragraph and the criticism which I mentioned to you. So you write, in this statement, no specific timeline was given. In this statement, no specific timeline was given. And it was British government which will decide the nature and the timing of advancement. Then so this is what is about the Montagu's statement of the 1917, and now we are in the leg of the Government of India Act 1919, or which is also called as the Montagu-Chelmsford reform. And generally that's why we call this Montagu-Chelmsford, because Montagu is the secretary and Chelmsford was the Viceroy of India at that point of time. Okay? So I must have told you that you must go with that open resource on the Vision IS website, and please download from the Viceroys of India or the Governor Generals of India that infographics from that place and read from that. ठीक है? So वो काम कर लेना तुम सब लोग. ठीक है? Now let's come to the next part. Please write a heading: Montagu-Chelmsford reforms. Or Government of India Act 1919. Government of India Act 1919. Then listen. So one by one we need to look at this. We need to know that what all important proposals were there. Then, so the very first concept in this Government of India Act, which was proposed at this point of time, it introduced diarchy in the provinces. Then, so what is diarchy? Diarchy. It introduced diarchy in the provinces. The word diarchy, di means two, and archy, authority. So archy, authority. So two, authority. That's what is the meaning of this word. And how we write? Diarchy. So diarchy in the provinces were introduced, which means the rule of two. And who are these two? So the executive councillors, one is executive councillors, and second, popular ministers. Popular ministers. So executive councillors and popular ministers. Then, so how it is going to these two people are going to wield their authority? So now listen, that there were two types of the subjects which were created at this point of time, and these subjects, one is the reserved subjects and one is the transferred subject. So listen this carefully, likhna baad mein. So one is reserved subject and another is the transferred subject. Reserves were comparatively much more important subjects, and then transferred were, we will not say that more important, that less important, but yes, less than the reserved. Done. So less than the reserved. Moreover, why we are calling reserved as a more important? Because all the income was coming in the reserved subject. So what all subjects were there in the reserved category? So in the reserved category were law and order, finances, most important, finances, then land revenue, it is also income, and then few of the kharcha, so few of the expense, that is irrigation. So these were the important subjects which were kept under the reserved category, and in the transferred included most of the things related to the expenses like the health, education, local government, industry, agriculture. So these all involves little bit of expense from the government side, so they were kept in the transferred subjects. Then so transferred subjects, then these reserved subjects were to be administered by the executive councillors, then executive councillors overall under the leadership of the governor, and then popular ministers, they were the one who were controlling the transferred subjects. Then so please write, mention, you mention, please write, it introduced diarchy in the provinces. It introduced diarchy in the provinces, which means rule of two. Which means rule of two. That is executive councillors, and popular ministers. Executive councillors and popular ministers. Then further you mention, it divided, after the first one you write second, it divided the subjects into two categories. It divided the subjects into two categories. It's up to you, Sushma. You can refer any source. But since if I have been prescribing the visions one, so there must be some reason, because that is infographics. That's not just the written ones. Okay? Panne and then what has been written. You can, if you feel comfortable, you can go with the whichever book. But the one which is there in our platform, that is infographics. That is, the colors are there, emphatic colors are there, and moreover pictures are there, which is a process of three-way emphasization. So I would suggest go with the visions one. So then it divided subjects into the two categories. Then you write first one, reserved subjects, which included law and order, reserved subjects which included law and order, finance, land revenue, law and order, finance, land revenue, irrigation, etc. Irrigation, etc. Then next you write second, transferred subjects, like health, education, local government, industry, agriculture, etc. Agriculture, etc. Then third statement you write. Third you write, reserved subjects were to be administered by the governor. Reserved subjects were to be administered by the governor through his executive councillors and bureaucrats. Through his executive councillors and bureaucrats. Through his executive councillors and bureaucrats. Then, next you write, in this same statement, third statement, or third point, so you write, transferred subjects were to be administered by the popular ministers. The popular ministers. Now there is a question for you. When you were writing that Montagu's statement, so when you were writing the Montagu's statement, that statement mentioned that with the view of realization of responsible government of India. So what do you understand by this word? Responsible government. You all have studied polity, and I don't think that by this point of time in any of the batches polity is not complete. So you all have studied polity. Tell me the specific meaning of this. What do you understand by responsible government? So what you figure out from the word responsible government, what does it exactly means? That what is responsible government? Then, meanwhile, write the next statement. So next statement was that ministers were made responsible to the legislature, but not the executive councillors. Then, so yes, let's look at this. So I would read responsible to legislature. Okay. Very good. Answerable to the people. Accountability. Yes. Very good. I was expecting. Okay? Since the classes have happened in your batches, so if you don't know this much, so then it's pity. So government whose powers are not unlimited and is answerable to the. Very good. Depender. So Dipender, okay. Dipender, this was one of my favorite name. This is one favorite name which I was shouting for while I was seeing one of the reality show. So she was the favorite character, not character, favorite personality. So, and then what else? Yes, all of you are correct. So though they don't have the unlimited power, that's one aspect, but they must be responsible to the legislature. The responsibility, accountability must be fixed. So you know it, and this is a matter of that happiness. I will say that at least you have understood these all things very well. And बहुत सारी classes में लोगों को responsible government का meaning नहीं पता होता है. So you understood, that's good. So please write. The ministers were responsible. You all are right. All of you are right. And it's heartening to see that you all are right. So you write, the ministers were responsible to legislature, but not the executive councillors. But not. How come executive is not answerable to the legislature? Okay? So ministers were responsible to the legislature, but not the executive councillors. But not the executive councillors. Then the next provision, that in the case of the failure of the constitutional machinery, so in the case of the failure of the constitutional machinery in the province, governor can take over the administration of the transferred subjects also. So governor can take over the administration of the transferred subjects also. This is one provision. And then the one which we predicted in the previous one, I think 1909, and then in 1916 also. So that became a reality, that the concept of the communal electorate was further forwarded to the Sikh community and the Anglo-Indian community. So to the Sikh community and the Anglo-Indian community, the communal electorate was further forwarded to them, and then further given to them, and then for the very first time, women were also given right to vote. So for the very first time, women were also given the right to vote. Then, so please write next one. In case of failure of constitutional machinery, in case of failure of constitutional machinery, then you write, in province, governor can take over the administration of transferred subjects also. Then, and then you write next one, the last one. Women were also given right to vote. Women were also given right to vote. Then, so right to vote. So this is what was there in the Government of India Act 1919. So now, after this topic, we need to move on to the next one, which is basically the start of the Gandhian phase in India. So let's start with the Gandhian phase in India. Gandhi has come back and Gandhian phase is going to start. So initially, Gandhi is not going to intervene in any of the big issues of that time, but he will take his time, little bit of time, and then he will study the case of India slowly, and then he will start intervening in the regional issues. So we will see that 3 regional issues in which Gandhi has intervened. The first one, Champaran. Second one is the Ahmedabad mill strike, and the third one is the Kheda Satyagraha. So these 3, and in these 3, Gandhi is using all his methods at this point of time. So let's begin with the big part. Just 1 minute. Gandhian phase, and where in India? Gandhian phase in India. Then, so now you know that after that successful completion of the South Africa, tenure, Gandhi has returned back to India, and he has returned back to India. Then Gandhi, when it comes to Gandhi, so he has his own. See that when it comes to the bicameral legislation, it was already there. It was a reconstitution of the bicameral legislation at this point of time. So a new way, the bicameral legislation at the central level was reconstituted. If you want, you can write. Then, so you got statement likh what Suraj has mentioned. But we will have to be very particular about that. Reconstituted bicameral legislation at the central level. So you can write that the next statement in the Government of India at 1919, that reconstituted bicameral legislation, oh, you don't write about the Anglo-Indian community, sorry, I forget. So please write, reconstituted bicameral legislation at central level, central level, and then reconstituted bicameral legislation at central level, and then next you write separate electorate was further provided separate electorate was further provided for Sikh community and Anglo-Indian community. So Sikh community and Anglo-Indian community. ये भूल गया था मैं, ठीक है. So thank you for reminding me. So now let's start with the Gandhian phase in India. So come back to this part, Gandhian phase in India, that Government of India Act 1919 complete. ये दो छूटा हुआ था, you have written right now. So Gandhi has returned and Gandhi has his own style of working. So his own style of working whereby he never intervened in a situation without further studying it. So he studied every case of India or every such problem in India with a great care, as if that he is studying it under a microscope, that to get to know about all the nitty-gritties of that particular issue. So that's what he did. And when he came, so he started touring all over India. So he started touring all over India and listened to the people, listen to their grievances, listen to their problems. Then moreover, there is one case of the Gandhi that he was in Haridwar and the people got to know that Gandhi is in Haridwar. So a large number of people gathered to see Gandhi because Gandhi has already become very popular because of his successful South African episode. So large number of people gathered to see him as if a Mahatma has come. And the question you guys will start sending, but can you tell me that who gave the title of Mahatma to Gandhi? Who is the person who gave that title of Mahatma to Gandhi? We have read in the Buddhism, we have read in the Jainism that how they started to be known as the Buddha and Jaina by their own followers. But what about the Gandhi? So listen, that he came and then he started touring all over India, understanding the problems of the people. At the same point of time, so people have started sending answers. Let me see. But otherwise, at the same point of time, home rule agitation was also going on. So home rule agitation was also going on. So this is a good answer. Who has sent? No one. So अपने आप आसमान से गिरा और गांधी पे अटका. This is, it was given by Rabindranath Tagore. So Rabindranath Tagore gave the title of the Mahatma to the Mahatma Gandhi. He's the one who first time called him Mahatma. Okay? So that's it. Now listen. So Gandhi, home rule movement was going on, and what was the statement of the Gandhi? Please listen this carefully. Ab likhna band karo. You got the answer. Now listen, that Gandhi made a statement that at this point of time when he was asked that why he's not joining the home rule agitation. So he said, he commented that he could join any organization. Listen this very carefully. He could join any organization to affect its policy, and not to be affected by it. So isko kehte hain confidence. Then so what Gandhi said, that he would join any organization to affect its policy, not to be affected by it. So not to be affected by it. And one time it may seem that he is quite arrogant, then he is quite egoist, but that's what is confidence. There is a thin line between the arrogance and then the arrogance, egoism, and the pride, and then also the self-assertion and the self-belief. So Gandhi's statement was the statement of the self-belief and confidence in his own methods. So confidence in his own methods. So he will not join any organization to get affected by that organization's policy. Rather, he would join an organization to affect the policy of that organization. So please write. और तुम लोग वहीं पे लिखते रह जाओगे. So please write. Then Gandhi returned to India. Gandhi returned to India from South Africa. South Africa by January 1915. By January 1915. Then further you mention, he had his own style of working. He had his own style of working. He had his own style of working, whereby he never intervened, whereby he never intervened in a situation. He never intervened in a situation without first studying it, without first studying it with great care, without first studying it with great care. With great care. After full stop, you write, he spent his first year in this phase. Okay? So he spent his first year in touring all over India, in touring all over India, in touring all over India, and this is the phase in which he organized his ashram at Sabarmati, Ahmedabad. So you write touring all over India and organizing his Sabarmati ashram, Ahmedabad. So organizing ashram, Sabarmati ashram at Ahmedabad. Then you write, he did not believed in the methods of home rule leaguers. He did not believe in the methods of home rule leaguers. Then you write, he commented that he could join any organization. He could join any organization to affect its policy. And not affected by its policy. To affect its policy, but not affected by its policy. But not affected by its policy. Then, so this is what is Gandhi all about. That not all about. This is the beginning of the Gandhi, but this is what is the confidence of the Gandhi and that self-belief of the Gandhi. So he was speaking with his self-belief at this point of time. So let's start with the initial interventions of the Gandhi. So the very first one, let's look at the very first one, that is the Champaran episode of the Gandhi. So Champaran episode of the Gandhi, and in fact this can be called as the first civil disobedience of the Gandhi in India. So please mention that the first three regional issues in which Gandhi has intervened. So please mention Champaran issue. Champaran issue and first civil disobedience. First civil disobedience. Then, so what is this Champaran issue all about? Then, so Champaran issue all about. So listen, that in Champaran Champaran, I hope that many people from Bihar, they know Champaran. So they are from the Champaran. So there are two important districts, Pashchimi Champaran and Purvi Champaran. So that's the area. So here the problem was the European planters. The European planters, they involved the cultivators of the Champaran into an agreement whereby these cultivators of the Champaran, they needed to plant indigo or cultivate indigo in 3 by 20th of their land holding, which was popularly called as Tin Katia system. So which was popularly called as Tin Katia system. Abhi isko samjho. Please don't write anything, try to understand. So the European planters made an agreement with the cultivators of the area of the Champaran, whereby the cultivators would be planting indigo in 3 by 20th of their land holding. So 3 by 20th of their land holding. Suppose that if a cultivator, he has 20 acres of land. So 20 acres of land, so how much he would be using for Tin Katia? 3 acres he would be using for the indigo plantation. So this is the one such system, one such agreement which was there at this point of time. So now what happened? What was the problem in this one? So by the end of the 19th century, somewhere by 1890s, then 1890s ke baad mein, I think that 95, 96. So in Germany, there was a discovery. Then there was a kind of a further achievement in the Germany. Indigo was the greatest source of the blue color. So indigo, all over the world, indigo was the best source of the blue color. Then, but by the end of the 19th century, 1900, German blue synthetic dyes, synthetic, not synthetic, synthetic dyes came into the market. So came into the market and they replaced indigo. So these were cheaper and much more effective than, so they replaced indigo, and as such, the planters are going to be in the disadvantage. The planters are going to be in the loss if they continue with the cultivation of the indigo. So since it was a necessity, listen this carefully, since it was the necessity for the European planters to release the cultivators from this agreement. But what they did, these kaminas then, and what they did, sorry for that informal word, but what they did, that they used this necessity into their advantage. They used this necessity into an advantage and opportunity to exact from the cultivators illegal rent and then advance payment. So they took the illegal rent and the advance payment from the cultivators as a price of the release. ठीक है कि इस agreement से release करने के लिए you guys will have to pay this much amount. It was their necessity, but they turned this necessity into the opportunity and then in their own advantage to extract some money from the cultivators. And that's how on this issue, one of the local leader, Rajkumar Shukla, he persuaded Gandhi to come to Champaran, and Gandhi came. So we will write about the next stuff, but you write, I hope you have understood Tin Katia system. This was recently asked in the exam also, that what do you mean by the Tin Katia system? So 3 by 20th of the land holding. So you write. So you write, in Champaran, European planters had involved the cultivators in agreement, that forced them forced them to cultivate indigo, that forced them to cultivate indigo on 3 by 20th, 3 by 20th, 20th of their land holding, 3 by 20th of their land holding. You can mention in the brackets tin kathia system, tin kathia system. Then tin kathia system. Then you write, after that you mention, in the end of the 19th century, in the end of the 19th century, 19th century, the German blue synthetic dyes, German blue synthetic dyes forced out, German blue synthetic dyes forced out indigo, forced out indigo from the market, from the market, from the market. Then further you mention, after that you write, European planters were keen to release, European planters were keen to release cultivators, were keen to release cultivators from the obligation, keen to release the cultivators from the obligation, but they tried to turn their necessity, into advantage, by taking advance rent, and illegal dues, for the price of release, So this is what they did. So on this issue, for the price of release, full stop. Now listen. So on this issue, Rajkumar Shukla, he persuaded Gandhiji, and as such Gandhi came to Champaran. So when Gandhi came to him, when he reached Champaran, so the district magistrate of the Champaran, he immediately instructed Gandhi to leave the district then and do not remain in the district. So this is the civil, or this is the civil order, this is the law, and this is the order of the authority. So Gandhi, how he did the civil disobedience? By disobeying this law, disobeying this order. So he did not paid any heed to the order, and he further went for inside the district, and he further started his own investigation on the issue with the help of the local leaders. And these local leaders, they were, I hope you know their names, Narhari Parekh, Rajendra Prasad, and Mahadev Desai. So these all people, they were the one who were investigating along with the Gandhi in this issue. And later on we will talk about that how it is getting solved. So first you write that on this issue, a peasant leader, Rajkumar Shukla persuaded Gandhi to intervene, Then persuaded Gandhi to intervene. Then you write, as such, Gandhi reached Champaran. As such, Gandhi reached Champaran. Then further you mention after that, after reaching Champaran, he disobeyed the orders of district magistrate. He disobeyed the orders of district magistrate to leave the district immediately. Then, to leave the district immediately. Then further you write, Gandhi further went ahead into investigation with the help of local leaders like Narhari Parekh, J.B. Kripalani, then Mahadev Desai, Mazharul Haq, Brij Kishore, and Rajendra Prasad. Narhari Parekh, J.B. Kripalani, and Brij Kishore, Mazharul Haq, Mahadev Desai, and then last में Rajendra Prasad. So now, what happened in this case? So when Gandhi has started his own investigation with the help of these local leaders, so the government was forced. The government was forced to set up its own commission of inquiry. So government set up its own commission of inquiry, and this government commission, it gave a judgment that the planter must give back 25% of the illegal dues that they have extracted from the cultivators. And though the complete money was not refunded, but this is a success. That taking something back from the Britishers, it was very difficult. It's like that putting your hands in the snake's den and then getting back something from that. So this was a success of the Gandhi. So you please write that as a result, government appointed a commission for inquiry. Which gave the judgment that planters must refund 25% of the money they had illegally taken from the peasant. 25% of the money they had illegally taken from the peasants. So this is what is all about the Champaran issue. We will see Ahmedabad mill strike and then also the Kheda Satyagraha and Kheda movement after this. Then, so let's have a 10-minute break. And moreover, before the break, so Gopi, you have written about the P family. It seems that you are good at the botanical knowledge. So the family you could have written that is Leguminaceae or Fabaceae, or is it Ranunculaceae, it is Cucurbitaceae. So been more knowledgeable aspect. Chalo. So 10-minute break. We'll continue after that. So let's talk about the two more issues. There is Ahmedabad mill strike and then the Kheda issue. So Ahmedabad mill strike and the Kheda issue. So I hope you have understood the very first one, which was the Champaran issue. So now you can write the next issue. Ahmedabad mill strike. Ahmedabad mill strike. So listen, that what was this Ahmedabad mill strike all about? That issue was the plague bonus. Listen this carefully. Issue was the plague bonus, which the workers were given at the time of the plague outbreak in that particular area of the Ahmedabad, which was the part of the Bombay Presidency, and then it was to be withdrawn. So now this plague bonus was to be withdrawn. Moreover, not only the plague bonus is withdrawn, but also in the aftermath of the World War I, the living cost has increased. Then, so the living cost has increased, the expenses has increased, everything has increased. So in that situation, these workers, they wanted the increase in the wages, continuation of the plague bonus, and then also the increase in the wages. Then, so which led to strike in the mills of the cotton and in the mills of the Ahmedabad. And initially, so basically that initially these mill owners, they were not ready for any such resolution, but Gandhiji initially he tried to convince them. And there was one mill owner, his name was Ambalal Sarabhai. So initially they were ready to be the part of a tribunal which will decide that how much increment would be fair. So how much increment would be fair? So initially, one more thing, that mill owners were like that 25% increment theek hai. More than that, we will not go with. But the workers were demanding more than that. Then, so more than that. So what happened when Gandhiji initially convinced, everybody said that Ambalal Sarabhai said that, okay, we will be the part of the tribunal which will decide the case. But later on, they refused to be the part of the tribunal. So at this point of time, Gandhi used one of his method. Then, and also to keep the motivation of the workers high, he entered into the hunger strike. So he entered into the hunger strike, and this hunger strike created an effect, created an impact on the mill owners, and they all submitted the case to the tribunal, and later on tribunal gave the judgment that 35% increment in the wages is justified. So this was a complete success, but here the involvement was between the mill owners and the workers. Britishers का यहाँ पे बहुत कुछ नहीं था. So please write. Issue at Ahmedabad, and this is the first hunger strike of Gandhi in India. So you write, issue at Ahmedabad was plague bonus. Was plague bonus. Then you write, which was given to the workers. Issue at Ahmedabad was plague bonus, which was given to the workers, was to be withdrawn. Was to be withdrawn. Was to be withdrawn. Then you write, then you mention, moreover, in the aftermath of World War I, in the aftermath of World War One, cost of living increased. Cost of living increased. यहाँ पे भी हो गया है. In the aftermath of the corona, cost of living has increased. ठीक है? But there is no such strike in the vision, I guess. ठीक है? So you write, cost of living increased, which forced workers to demand increase in the wages, to force workers demand increase in the wages and continuation of plague bonus. Continuation of plague bonus. Plague bonus. Then further you mention continuation of plague bonus. You can change paragraph and then write. Ahmedabad mill owners were not ready for it. Ahmedabad mill owners were not ready for it. Then you write, initially, Gandhi convinced Ambalal Sarabhai and other mill owners. Gandhi convinced Ambalal Sarabhai and other mill owners to be part of the tribunal. But later they refused. To accept the award of tribunal. But later they refused to accept the award of the tribunal. Full stop. Then you write, in this situation, Gandhi decided to go on hunger strike. To keep the motivation of workers high. To go on hunger strike to keep the motivation of workers high. Full stop. Workers high. Then you write, finally, mill owners submitted the case to tribunal. Finally, the mill owners submitted the case to tribunal, which awarded 35% increase in the wages. 35% increase in the wages of the workers. So this is what is the Ahmedabad issue, which was a complete success. And then after, I spoke Bengali sometimes. So I speak Bengali sometimes, not spoke then. And then, so one last information at this point of time, not success then. So let's come to this point, that there was this sister of the Ambalal Sarabhai. Her name was Anusuya Behan. So Anusuya Behan, meanwhile, all the time, she was in support of the Gandhi, and moreover, she was one of the lieutenant of the Gandhi. So she was against the brothers. Then against the brothers' initiative. So you write that, meanwhile, you write one last information. Meanwhile, the sister of Ambalal Sarabhai, Anusuya Behan, sister of Ambalal Sarabhai, Anusuya Behan was one of the lieutenants of the Gandhi in this case. One of the lieutenants of Gandhi in this case. Lieutenant of Gandhi in this case. So this is what is about the Ahmedabad mill strike. Then let's move to the Kheda. So the next issue is the Kheda. So please write. Just a minute. Third issue is the Kheda. And it is considered as the first non-cooperation. So the first hunger strike was the Ahmedabad mill strike. First CDM was the Champaran, and first NCM is the Kheda. So now, what is the issue over here in the Kheda? So the issue was the crop failure. At the Kheda, the issue was the crop failure, and because of this crop failure, the peasants of the Kheda, they were demanding remission of the land revenues. So they were demanding remission of the land revenues. Moreover, let me tell you one thing about the Kheda area. That Kheda is the area of the Patidar peasants, and I hope you all know Patidars then. So it's the Gujarati Patidar. I'm not talking about the North Indian, that the UP Patidar and the Bihar Patidar, that's a neighbor. That's not Patidar. I'm talking of the Patidar community of the Gujarat. So majority of these peasants were Patidars then. And you know, these Patidars, they are the Patel community. I hope you all know. So Patel community of the Gujarat, and you know that they are one of the strongest people of that, and strongest people, not strongest, but very influential people in the Gujarat economy, politics, in every aspect. And moreover, even at this point of time, the Patidar community was more well versed in the education. They have more knowledge about the things and more knowledge about the laws and the policies of the government. So they were well versed about this as compared to any other community in India. So they were involved over here. So they demanded that remission of the land revenues. Then, so the remission of the land revenues, and moreover, earlier the Servant Society of India, listen this carefully. Earlier, the Servant Society of India, it justified the case of this particular Kheda issue. So they justified the case of the Kheda issue. Moreover, Gandhiji was the member of the Gujarat Sabha at this point of time. So Gujarat Sabha at this point of time, and he played an important role in this agitation. So important role in this agitation, and moreover, when he is going to come to lead this particular agitation, so he advised the peasants to not cooperate with the authorities, withhold the revenues. So he advised the peasants to not cooperate with the authorities and withhold the payment, meaning that don't give the payment. Then, so don't withholding the payment, don't give the payment, withhold it. And why withhold it? That until and unless you do the remission, we will not give it. Then we will be giving, but you do the remission, and then we will give. If you don't do the remission, so we will be withholding it. So this is what is called as the non-cooperation. For example, that I can ask a question to you, and let me ask this question to you that I'm asking at this point of time. How you differentiate between the civil disobedience and the non-cooperation? How these two are different? They are not the same. How these two are different? Can you tell me that how these two are different? Are you able to figure out that how the CDM is different from the non-cooperation? So please write few words. Let me see that how you are able to differentiate between the two. So I would wait for that. Meanwhile, you write. At Kheda, the issue was crop failure. At Kheda, the issue was crop failure, due to which peasants demanded remission of land revenue. Remission of land revenue. So Shashank and Mithun. No, I would not be satisfied with that passive resistance word. Not at all. And that's not the answer. It will not lead to the understanding. See, the question may be complex. Answer always must be simple. When we use heavy words for answering, that doesn't augurs well, and moreover, that doesn't gives you or fetches you extra mark. You always need to simplify your answers, and answers are always simple. Questions may be complex, but answers are always simple. So you cannot use this term passive resistance. Itself, it's a bigger word. Itself is a technical word. So this will not lead to any answer. Okay? So non-cooperation is not about the breaking the rule of the payment or anything like that, but non-cooperation is not obeying government demand. Good. Very good. Who has mentioned? Satyam. Very good. Very good observation. And what is CBD? Further you write. Not many of you are writing. So, sub government related hai Puspendra. Everything is government related. Then Harshvardhan has said, not doing what is desired by British. Okay. Defying legal orders of the government. Very good, Harshvardhan. The second part, I would agree with you. Say the first you need to reframe. That's not incorrect, but you need to reframe. Then non-cooperate means without disobeying the law, while the civil disobedience is all about the breaking the law. Very good. Those who have identified that civil disobedience is about the breaking the law. Non-cooperation, you are not breaking the law, but you are not cooperating with the law. So not cooperating with the law. For example, let me give you one very good example. So let me see that how many of you are correct. CDM means breaking of the law. Okay. CDM was to deny government orders, not deny, use better words, Neha, and not deny. You never deny, you flout the government orders. Then denial to is not a good word, but I got to know that what you are trying to express. So non-cooperation was not to obey the orders government demand. Okay. And then civil disobedience, aiming against, what is that? Aiming, oh, okay. I think that you have made a grammatical mistake in quick writing. So please correct it into, and non-cooperation only, not going against the laws, that disobey of the order, not following existing, break of law, not supporting administration. Very good. So one last. No cooperation of Indians to the no cooperation NCDM disobeying. So now I hope that as I can see that you guys are getting it, and it's heartening to see that many of you have bang on what was CDM and non-cooperation all about. Let me give you one example. That CDM is very as simple as that you break the law. Then you break the law, you do not follow the orders of the Britishers. But what is non-cooperation? Suppose that, for example, many a times I do say that you guys, please don't send your questions on the response screen. But you keep on sending on the response screen. It's not that there is a something law like that in vision that you are breaking, but you're not cooperating with the instruction. That कि यहाँ पे मत भेजो question. कितनी बार हम सब लोग कह के थक चुके हैं कि please don't send questions on the response screen, and you keep on sending questions on the response screen. So you are not cooperating with the process. Then that is non-cooperation. You are not breaking the law, and you are not doing something because of which your numbers that you will be subscribed out of the Vision IAS, then your fees would be returned or your fees would be kept, and then you will no more be allowed to see the classes. You are not doing any such kind of stuff, but you are not cooperating with the process. I hope you got that. So this is what was there in the non-cooperation, that it's not that we will not give you the revenue, but this revenue is unjust, this demand is unjust, so we are withholding it, and you just reflect upon that. Then so you just reflect upon that. For example, that I say to you that I say to you that response screen पे मत भेजो, and then you keep on sending, and then I say to you कुछ देर के लिए मैं तुमको block कर दूंगा. But did we ever mention that you will be blocked forever? So this is what was at the Kheda. So please mention. You right? So you mention what you have mentioned. At Kheda, the issue was the crop failure, remission of the land revenue. Then you write, earlier, the Servant Society of India, earlier, the Servant Society of India, justified the case of Kheda peasants. The case of Kheda peasant. Then you mention, at this time, Gandhi was member of Gujarat Sabha. Gandhi was member of Gujarat Sabha. Then further you mention, who played a decisive role in agitation. Who played a decisive role in this agitation. Then you write, he advised the peasants not to cooperate. He advised peasants not to cooperate with British authority. Not to cooperate with British authority. And then withhold the revenue, and to withhold the revenue. Done? So at this point of time, Gandhi he gave one very emphatic comment. He said that it is impossible to govern the men without their consent. Which is a very strong statement, and which Gandhi gave at this point of time. But there is a reality in this statement, that you cannot govern anyone without his consent. Then, so if anyone is governing in any part of the world, it's ये थोड़ा सा गलत हो जाएगा, but particularly in the democracies we are talking about. So if there is a system of governance in our country, we have given our consent to our ballots, then through our votes, and that's why they are ruling. Then, so you cannot govern men without their consent. Then it may happen for a time, it may happen for a year or two, it may happen for some years, but not always. Then, and let's see that what happens in the Afghanistan, which is a very bizarre case, and moreover bizarre case, and then moreover, if the world is abandoning Afghanistan at this point of time, so have you guys ever heard about the butterfly effect? Anybody in this class who has heard about the butterfly effect? That what is butterfly effect? I hope you know this concept of the butterfly effect. That what is this concept of the butterfly effect is that if a butterfly, this is a concept related to the scientism, and this is a reality. This is a fact also at the same point of time, that it says, the butterfly effect says that if in one corner of the planet Earth, if a butterfly flaps its wings, so in the another corner of the world, there would be the ripples in the sea. So there would be the ripples in the sea, and there would be the kind of that causes of that flap. So if it in any part of the world anything happens, and if you keep a blind eye on that, if we keep a blind eye on that, a blind shutter on that, so it does not mean that the issue has been solved, but in fact there will be the ripples of that in each and every country of the world. So when you are abandoning Afghanistan, when you are abandoning the people of the rights of the people of the Afghanistan, so then you are not just working in your favor, but at one point of time, the karma is a bitch, and it will come back to you. Then it will come back to you, and it will come back to each and every country of the world. So Just wait for that. And this is what is, yes, very well that you guys know that this is a physics, and in the linear systems we read about all these things. Then so we read about all this system, and that is the butterfly effect. So please write the statement of Gandhi. You write. You mention Gandhi made an emphatic comment. Gandhi made an emphatic comment that it is impossible to govern men, without their consent. Without their consent. Without their consent. So who all were the leaders? Who all were the leaders who accompanied Gandhi in this case? So some of the important leaders in Gujarat, Gandhi was supported by the young lawyer, and you know his name, from Kheda, from the Patidar community, Sardar Patel. So Sardar Patel, Indulal Yagnik, and then Vittal Bhai Patel also. So these were the important people who accompanied Gandhi at this point of time. So you write that in Gujarat, Gandhi was supported by a young lawyer from Kheda. A young lawyer from Kheda. A young lawyer from Kheda, that is Sardar Patel. Sardar Patel. Then Indulal Yagnik, Sardar Patel, Indulal Yagnik, Vittal Bhai Patel, etc. Sardar Patel, Vittal Bhai Patel, etc. Then, who toured villages along with Gandhi. Who toured villages along with Gandhi. So now, so what happened that it became such a strong movement, and since these were the educated people, so these were the educated people, a lot more education has been percolated to the Patel community, and it was very disheartening to see. It was very disheartening to see that such an advanced community, such an very educated community, and the person like Patidar movement, some person named as, you know this name, Hardik Patel, initiating a Patidar movement for reservation for the Patidar community. It's very disgusting. It's very disgusting, and that's what is called as politics. And people, if people vote such kind of personality, such kind of people, so really we are fools. We are making fools for ourselves. If the advanced communities, if the so educated communities, they started demanding reservation, there can nothing be more bad than that. And then if the advanced people will demand reservation, so what about that the people who really need the reservation, then who really need the benefits of the reservation, even in this country, many a times that I know that many of you indulge in this kind of debate that there must not be reservation, but you need to make yourself educated about the education. The problem is educated about the reservation. It's not a wrong concept, and it is something which is based in the historical injustice done to some communities. But the problem with this reservation system, the faulty implementation of the reservation, that the real beneficiaries never get the benefit, or most of the time they never get the benefit, but those people who are little advanced in that category itself, they are reaping all the benefits of the reservation. So it's not a wrong concept, but yes, there was a faulty implementation of the concept of the reservation in India. So please write the next one. So अगला तो अभी कुछ डिस्कस किया नहीं. So listen. So what happened that since they were educated people and their impact was a lot in the Gujarat, so the situation was going out of the proportion. British government was in a situation that it cannot do anything about it. So they released a secret instruction rather than coming on the front and then saying that what you do, what you not do. So they released a secret instruction whereby they maintained and they instructed to their officers that let the people, those who want to submit the revenue, let them submit, and those who do not want to submit, you must not force them, and you cannot force them because they cannot force them. Then, because it was a big movement, and if they force, so there could be the repercussions of that also. So they gave this secret instruction that those who are able to pay, afford to pay, they can pay, and those who don't want, it's up to them. Okay? So it's up to them. So that's what was the complete success in the Kheda. So please mention, when the situation was going out of proportion, government issued a secret instruction. Whereby it suspended the collection of revenue. It suspended the collection of revenue and maintained that those who are able to pay or afford to pay can make the payment. Those who are able to pay or afford to pay can make the payment. Right? So this is what is all about, that Gandhi's interventions at these all places. And somebody asked about the years of this particular. So timeline ke wise hi hai. These all that you have written. The first one, Champaran, 1917. Then the second one, which you have written, Ahmedabad Mill Strike, that was 1918. And the last one, Kheda, was in 1919. So chaho to likh lo that Kheda, it was in 1919. Then this one, Ahmedabad Mill Strike, 1918, and Champaran was in 1917. So this is how Gandhi was increasing his popularity. Okay? So what we can do right now, so this is what is about that the initial episode associated with the Gandhi at this point of time. And now we will be seeing the next big initiative of the Gandhi, and that big initiative of the Gandhi is the Rollet Satyagraha or the Rollet Bill. So let's start with that. We can talk about the Rollet Bill today, and in tomorrow's class we can talk about the Jallianwala Bagh massacre and then non-cooperation. We can see those all. So let's start with the Rollet Bill or Rollet Satyagraha. Rollet Bill, Rollet Satyagraha. Rollet Satyagraha. So now listen that what is the issue over here in the Rollet. Then in the 1919, when the Montagu-Chelmsford reforms were forwarded and Indians were expecting that there would be much more rights given to them and much more reforms will happen, but at the same point of time, Britishers are coming with the two bills which are named after the person who headed the committee. So Rollet Bill, and in this Rollet Bill, what was against the expectation of Indians, that it was aimed at curtailing the civil liberty of Indians in the name of the terrorism. So curtailing the civil liberties of Indians in the name of the terrorism, and that too when we are expecting more reforms would be there. So how come reforms came? Reforms came in the form of the separate electorate for a few more communities, and then the Rowlatt Bill curbing the activities of Indians in the name of the terrorism. So curtailing the civil liberties of Indian in the name of the terrorism. So please mention, you write, it was named after, Rowlatt Bill was named after the person who chaired the committee of two bills. Then you write, further you mention, the timing of these two bills were not suitable when Indians were expecting substantial constitution concession after the end of war. Then you write, and which war? We are talking about the World War. So you write, in February 1919, the two bills were introduced, which aimed at curtailing civil liberty of Indians, in the name of curbing terrorism or terrorist violence. Terrorism likho, in name of the curbing terrorist violence or terrorism. Then, so now listen. So after this, after constitutional, what you wrote? Substantial constitutional reforms or concessions. Concessions, that was the word. So now listen. So at this point of time, Gandhi is free from all the three issues, and he was quite successful. So obvious was that people would expect a leadership of the Gandhi and his intervention. So Gandhi intervened at this point of time. He stepped in and suggested that satyagraha. So he suggested to start a satyagraha, and at this point of time, all those young home rule leaguers, sab ke sab, those who were unemployed at this point of time, Mrs. Annie Besant has taken her decision, to withdraw that home rule, and Tilak is away from India. So what is happening, that these all home rule leaguers, they have nothing to do. So what they did, they all joined the Gandhi in this case. So they joined the Gandhi in this case. So what was the form of the movement? So the form of the movement was complete hartal, protest, and then also prayers and the fasting. So complete hartal, protest and prayers and the fasting and the demonstration against the government. So Gandhi suggested this, and it was decided that there would be a particular date for the start of this particular movement. So there would be a particular date for the start of this movement, which date was 6th of April. So the date was 6th of April. We will see that what happened after that. So please write. At this moment, Gandhi suggested to launch Satyagraha. Gandhi suggested to launch Satyagraha. Then you write, the young Home Rule Leaguers joined the movement. So we will talk about the Jallianwala Bagh also, which is the part of the Rowlatt only. Then you write, the form of protest was nationwide Hadtal. You write Hadtal. Then, so nationwide Hadtal, nationwide Hadtal, protest, demonstration, prayer and fasting. Demonstration, prayer and fasting. Then, so prayer and fasting. So now listen. So it was decided that 6th of April 1919 would be the launch date of this particular that Rowlatt bill, that Rowlatt Satyagraha. But what happened that due to the confusion regarding the date, some violence happened in some of the areas, and particularly these areas were Delhi, Lahore and Amritsar. So you know that people of the Delhi has this habit of celebrating the things a little early. And being a delight from last 10-15 years, who better than me knows about this? That I have also become like that only, that we celebrate little early. So for example, that if India is going to win the match, so it seems like that it will win the match, and then we start exploding all the bombs and the patakas and the fireworks, and then what happens? All of a sudden we realize that India is on the brink of getting defeated in the match. Then, so that's one part. Then another thing, that Diwali starts a little bit earlier in Delhi, and that's why we have made Delhi as the pollution capital of the world. So we take pride in this one. Then, so we celebrate little early. Whatever instruction is given, we do it little early. So, so this what happened? So violence happened. That people in Delhi, they started little early, and you know that Delhi is not far from the Punjab. Then, so in Punjab also, and in that Lahore is also the part of the Punjab. So Lahore and Amritsar, here also, people said that why would we would be far from Delhi, so we must be closer to Delhi. So they also started this movement little early, which led to some sort of violence. Then, so which led to some sort of violence, and moreover, on 10th of April, two local leaders in Amritsar, very popular local leaders in Amritsar, their names were Saifuddin Kichlu and then Satyapal. They were arrested by the British authority, which led to the attack on town hall and post office and the telegraph, which were the symbols of the British authority. And that will be leading to the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. So please write that, but, after full stop, you have, have you written that it was decided the 6th of April? Yeah, wahin se likho. It was decided that the 6th of April, would be the launch date of the movement. But due to over enthusiasm, Some people started it little early. Some people started it little early in Delhi, Lahore and Amritsar. In Delhi, Lahore and Amritsar. In Delhi, Lahore and Amritsar, which resulted into some violence. Then you write, on 10th of April, two popular leaders, Satyapal and Saifuddin Kichlew were arrested by British, which led to attack on town hall, and they were arrested in Amritsar. वो quote कर लेना. So which led to attack on town hall, post office, telegraph, etc. Attack on town hall, post office, telegraph, etc. Done? See, don't make the class. You guys are talking much more different from the class. Okay? Yes, I know that it is that very much you need to be there in line with the things. Please bring your focus into the class. Okay? So now you can mention that this attack on the town hall, telegraph and the post office, etc. And now you write Jallianwala Bagh massacre. Let's complete it. It's not a big topic. It's just a 5-minute topic. So that's a result of this only. So Jallianwala Bagh massacre. You can write this heading. Jallianwala Bagh massacre. So now listen. So Jallianwala Bagh massacre, what happened? 13th of April 1919. It was a Baisakhi day. So 13th of April 1919, it was a Baisakhi day. And large number of the people, they gathered in Amritsar's Jallianwala Bagh to attend a meeting. And moreover, the problem with that, the place, Jallianwala Bagh, was that there was only one entrance, and that was exit route also. And it was little narrow. It was narrow, not very wide. Though the ground was big, but otherwise the entrance and the exit routes were narrow. So what happened that when the people gathered over here just to listen, and people have come because of the fair which was organized. Every year fair happens on the Baisakhi day in Amritsar. So people came for the fair. What happened that somebody is speaking, somebody is talking, somebody is giving a speech. So they were all excited. They all wanted to see that. It do happen with us also many a times that when we are not particularly in Delhi, but I have seen with me itself that I used to leave the classes just to see the political rallies then, and I have seen in very early part of my childhood, I have seen many big netas of India. In fact, I was able to witness Atal Bihari Vajpayee from the very front. And that too, I was hardly 14 or 15 years old. So Atal Bihari Vajpayee, then Pramod Mahajan, then I have also seen Lalu Yadav. So I was so enthusiastic about the rallies that whenever they were happening, I used to leave the classes and go to see the rallies, that what these netas are speaking all about. So here also, generally, people get excited about that, seeing the people who are the leaders, what they are speaking about. So large number of the people, they gathered in the Jallianwala Bagh. But at this point of time, this general of the Britishers, General O'Dwyer, he was so incensed that he thought that they are planning and plotting against the British authority, and he ordered his men to launch the attack. and to open the firearms on this unarmed people. And unfortunately, that this particular fire round went on for 10 minutes, and 10 minutes is enough to kill lot of people. So the government estimate at that point of time was only 379 dead, but that's very brutal and that's very inexact. More than 1,000 people died, and moreover, what was the scenario over there? Since the route was very congested, exit route was very congested, and all the men of the General Dyer, they were at the routes, the exit route only. And not just this, there was a well inside the premise, and many people, they jumped into the well to save their life, but none of them survived. A lot number of people, they jumped into the well, and none of them survived. And a good number of people, more than thousands, they died in this particular incident, this first massacre of the 20th century, which shocked the entire nation. Rabindranath Tagore renounced his knighthood at this point of time. Please write. So you write, on 13th of April 1919, on 13th of April 1919, Baisakhi Day, Baisakhi Day, Baisakhi Day, a large number of people came to attend a meeting in Jallianwala Bagh, came to attend a meeting at Jallianwala Bagh. Then you write, General O'Dwyer incensed that his orders were flouted. His orders were flouted. That his orders were flouted, and he ordered his troop. To fire upon the unarmed crowd. To fire upon the unarmed crowd for the next 10 minutes without any warning. For the next 10 minutes without any warning. For the next 10 minutes without any warning. Then further you write, government estimate was 379 dead. Government estimate was 379 dead. But more than 1,000 died. More than 1,000 died. Full stop. The brutality stunned the nation. The brutality stunned the nation. Stunned the nation. Full stop. Change paragraph. Rabindranath Tagore renounced his knighthood. Rabindranath Tagore renounced his knighthood in protest. Renounced his knighthood in protest. Full stop. Gandhi overwhelmed by the total atmosphere. Gandhi overwhelmed by the total atmosphere of violence, withdrew the movement on 18th of April 1919. on 18th of April 1919. So this is what is all about the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. There is a one part which I would be mentioning in the non-cooperation. So wait for that. So tomorrow we are going to start with, today we covered a good chunk of the, and good amount of the content. So tomorrow we'll be starting with the non-cooperation movement. After the end of the non-cooperation movement, what we are going to see, we will see the Swarajist and the non-Swarajist phase, or the pro-changer and no-changer phase. I will talk about the Nehru report, and then we will talk about that. If the time would be there, so then definitely we will talk about the Simon Commission. So these would be the topics for tomorrow. Thank you for today. Good night to all of you.